What's up, G Show Land, and welcome to another episode of the G Show Podcast. I am G1, and this, according to Brother Chase, is the G Show Road Show, because I ain't got no title for this one. I ain't got no title for this one at all. It's just going to be a bunch of random stuff that we're going to be spewing and talking about when it comes to the box office, because honestly, if y'all listened to the podcast last week, I had fun talking about that. Got to talk about it this week. Talking about working at a theater during summer Blockbuster season, and then we're going to get into video games. And of course, if there's any potential Godzilla news, we shall be talking about that too. But let's get right into it. And before I do, let me introduce you to my cohort, my co-host, my brother from another mother, G73, a.k.a. Megzy, a.k.a. my brother Chase. How the hell are you?
I'm doing all right, man. Doing all right. It's been a busy work week, as we've been talking about. But with the light of Little Mermaid and Spider-Man, I've been busy on my feet, but I got a big paycheck coming my way, so I'm happy.
That's a good thing. A big paycheck to spend on big things.
Yeah, car tags. No.
Yeah. Oh man, for real though, right? The damn bills. No man, like, yeah. It's funny. I want to definitely, in a minute, get your perspective on working at a theater during, Blockbuster season, starting, I guess, with Little Mermaid. But I'm pretty sure you did Fast X and well, Guardians really didn't have nothing in the way. And Fast X came out a week before Little Mermaid. So, I want to, in a minute, get your feelings on that. But I do want to start off with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I have to start off with that. I would be remiss if I didn't. I'm not gonna. This is not a spoiler review. This is a quick how I felt about it, and then we're gonna talk about what it made in the theater and can it sustain where it's at. So first and foremost, last Thursday, me and my family, we went to go see Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I was very excited. Now, if anybody knows me from previous podcasts, especially when the first movie came out, as much as I do love that movie, I'm not that movie's biggest fan. It was called Into the Spider-Verse. And in my opinion, I'm just saying, I felt like there should have been a lot more Spider-Man than what they had. I love the movie. I love the introduction of Miles. I love the introduction of the world. And I like what they did. But I can't lie, I was butthurt over the fact that I wanted more Spider-Man. That is just what it is. It's the Spider-Verse. Dump them all on me. But we didn't get that. And then I had to wait several years, and we had to go through, the worldwide smog monster messing things up during, for 2.5, almost 3 years. But now we had the sequel. Now we got the sequel, and when them trailers dropped and they showed nothing but Spider-Man chasing Miles, I was like, here we go. Now we getting into it. So I was excited. And I think, like, as soon as I pulled up to the theater, I got this weird feeling. I was like, please, let me love this movie. Like, please let me love this movie. Like, I don't want it to be, oh, you wanted all these Spider-Man? Here they are. And then that's it. They go away. I needed to really like this movie, and I gotta be honest with you, Brother Chase. I fucking love this movie. Like, I absolutely loved this movie. It's ridiculous how much I loved this movie. My wife, my daughter, the theater was packed. I love it. It felt good to be in a packed theater, premium screen. We saw it on the Cinemark XD. I can't get into spoilers. I will say, like, the first 15-20 minutes it starts off with, like, Spider-Gwen's backstory. Then you get the title credits, and then it goes right into Miles. And right off the bat, I was like, what the? They're playing Rakim, the 18th letter, and as a big Rakim fan from back in the days, I was dancing. I don't think anybody else understood that musical choice right there when Miles popped up was from something from like the mid 90s. I was jamming. I loved it. The story was great. I loved the idea of the Spider-Verse and what they were doing there with all the Spider-Men. The movie was funny. The movie had heart. The movie had, in my opinion, a great villain. Seeing the humble beginnings up until what goes on through the rest of the movie, I loved it. I was like, oh my God. It was an absolute romp. And, you know, there were things that got the whole theater like erupting in excitement and applause. And I just loved it. I was like, Sony, holy shit, Sony. You did, like, Sony has a habit, and again, I take nothing from the first movie. This is the first movie notwithstanding. But Sony has a habit of swinging and missing with some Spider-Man sequels. Now, that's not 100% true because Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 2 is still one of my favorite superhero movies ever made. Ever. It was one of my all-time favorite sequels ever. But this movie just knocked it down a peg. Maybe 3. Seriously. I had to I had to rejig my thing. I will put it like this. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, if it's not my favorite sequel of all time, it is in the top 3. It is in the top 3. And it you know what it does? So, all right. Empire Strikes Back, right? For the geeks. Because I say this one thing and then you get a ton of backlash like, what about The Godfather 2? And I'm like, I get it. I've never seen The Godfather 2 though. It's not my type of movie. I'm talking about for the geeks.
Right.
So like Empire Strikes Back is considered one of the greatest sequels of all time. Lord of the Ring, The Two Towers is considered one of the greatest sequels of all time, right? I respect that. Empire is probably always going to be that number 1 sequel for me, right? Up until this point, it was definitely. But my favorite Star Wars movie is Return of the Jedi, right? Like that's right. My personal favorite sequel. But to me, sequel means part 2, right? That's
right.
It's always the part 2, the second part. So it would be Empire Strikes Back because it set a precedent where this is part of a bigger story and the good guys lost. Like, little kids are crying coming out of that theater like, oh my God, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, oh, Darth Vader's his father. Like, little kids are coming out messed up. The next time I felt like that in a movie theater, or with a movie, for a sequel, and I will say this until the day I die, was Avengers Infinity War. That is my favorite Avengers movies. The more I think about it, I love the first Avengers movie, but that Avengers Infinity War literally is the Empire Strikes Back of comic book movies. Now that I think about it, though, can it really be a part of my favorite sequels? Because that's technically not the second Avengers movie. You know? Unless, wait, wow. This podcast just took a whole nother turn. Unless, Brother Chase, check this shit out. Wait, I can maneuver this to favor my thought pattern. Unless I say, dare I say, that the third part of a trilogy in Captain America was the first part of the Avengers Endgame trilogy, which it really was, if you think about it. What were they calling it? Avengers 2.3, right? Or 2.5? Because it was in a
2.0.5.
2.0.5, right? Because Captain America Civil War was literally all the Avengers fighting and splitting. And it was the introduction of Spider-Man.
Right.
So Infinity War basically carried on that, was the torchbearer to that. It was, I mean, one might argue it was Spider-Man Homecoming. But as far as seeing all the Avengers again, let's just say Captain America, the third movie, was the start of the Endgame trilogy. Thus, my argument that Infinity War is a legit number 2, even though it's actually number 3, sequel works, and it's still one of the best sequels ever made. So it's up there. So it's got to be up there. It has to be. I don't even care. If that makes no sense, then just sequels in general. But it has the Empire Strikes Back vibe. I guess that's what we're going with. It has the Empire Strikes Back vibe where good guys don't win. I'm not saying the good guys lose here, but this is a part of a trilogy. And the way Across the Spider-Verse ended had me jumping out my seat like, oh my God.
They're going to have to call on Godzilla for help, huh?
They got to call, yep. They got to call TriStarzilla, right? To come help them. They got to. Throw everything.
And the Ninja Turtles.
throw everything at the wall. Throw it all at the wall. But no, this movie really, it was so good. And I loved it so much because it really made me feel like the way Empire Strikes Back made me feel and the way Avengers Infinity War made me feel. Like, our heroes are in trouble. What happens next? I need to see what happens next. I loved it. And again, the humor is so freaking pitch perfect. There's a part, and again, this is not a spoiler, right? It's just a line in the movie that was hysterical, I thought, where you had Spider-Man 2099, Miguel, right? He's like the leader of this group, and he's all Batman-ish. He's brooding and dark and just mad at everything, right? And then Peter Parker, he comes in and he's like, hey, man, we're Spider-Man. We're supposed to be funny, lighten up. The theater lost their shit. Everybody started cracking up. It just felt good, you know? It felt good because I was like, yeah, you are a Spider-Man. You don't need to be Peter Parker because Miles ain't Peter Parker. Yet Miles was funny. Miles had some good one-lines, quick zips. But one of the funniest things about Miles Morales, I got to be honest, and I love this gag in any movie. You have to have a good scream. You have to have a really good scream. And Miles Morales has one of the best screams I've ever heard in movies. It is so fucking funny. I love it. I believed it. It's just such a great movie, man. And honestly, I hope this movie kicks all the ass. I really do. And I will say, I was looking for one particular Spider-Man. And that one, but he might have been there. He might have been there. There's so much going on when all the Spider-Men are there. It's hard to keep up, especially on the XD. You can't pause the damn movie and go, oh look. I gotta wait for it to come out so I can buy it and do that. But there was one particular Spider-Man that did not show up. And at first I was very, very, very disappointed. Not to the point where I hated the movie at all. Because all the Spider-Men that we do see, everybody that they do have a focus on at one point in time or another, all of them worked. I loved all of it. They do some sight gags in there that I was like, oh my God. Like, you know, old heads like myself would totally get. There's a cameo in there that if you don't know, you won't know. But the theater knew. And the theater was like, oh shit, that I thought was fantastic. And then the purpose of the story and what they were trying to do, I loved it because it had this Doctor Who vibe, right? But like old Doctor Who, like when they revamped it in 2005, if I'm not mistaken, and that first bunch, the Russell T Davies versions of Doctor Who had a vibe like that with the science fiction of it all that I loved, yet it still maintained the comic book quality because they kept it within the Spider-Man verse, and the way they did it, they were using verbiage that pertains to the books in the Spider-Verse, and I loved all of that as a Spider-Man fan. And I can't say that I said hand read every single Spider-Man comic. I did. There was a point in time where I was getting every Spider-Man comic known to man, and then One More Day and Brand New Day happened. And once one more day happened and they basically retconned everything so Aunt May can live, but Peter lost Mary Jane, and Mary Jane, like, nobody knew who Peter Parker was, and Mary Jane did, obviously, except those closest to him, but Mary Jane and Peter weren't married anymore. All that shit, I said, miss me with it. And I stopped collecting. I didn't read. But
kind of like what they do at the end of Homecoming, huh? Or the end of No Way Home, or
yes,
what's the last one? I get them mixed up.
Far From Home. No Way Home. No Way
Far
Home.
From Home,
No,
right?
No Way Home. No Way Home. You're right. No Way Home.
Yeah, that's what they're kind of doing with that, right? They're kind of going with that arc where they don't know who Peter is anymore.
Yes. So, you know, they ripped that from the comics from Brand New Day. So I stopped. But every now and then I'd peek a little bit here, I peek a little bit there. I read the Superior Spider-Man when it came out in trade. And then I read the Spider-Verse, and I absolutely loved that first Spider-Verse. It was great, fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And that's what I got here. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Again, there are comic book verbiages that I'm like, yep, that makes sense. All the sense in the world. It felt like Doctor Who science fiction in some aspects. I said, yep, that works for me. But the focus on Miles and his relationships and his, you know, with everybody, you know, not just the Spider Peeps, but like his family, his friends, the relationships, hell, even the villain. Like, it was, man, I literally was sitting in the theater like, this is fucking fantastic. I felt all of it. It just hit me in a way that the last animated movie didn't, and I loved it. And I'll say this. After the movie, my friend who's on the East Coast, it's probably about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night his time, and he's got to get up really early for work. So he was like, whatever you do, call me when you get out the theater. And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable. Bro, you got to go to work. He was like, fucking call me. So I did, and we talked for a minute. And he asked me, he goes, is this movie better than Far From Home? And I had to pause, and I had to take a breath, and I had to think, and this is my response. No. But not because it's a bad movie. The reason why I say no is because what Spider-Man No Way Home did was something I've never seen before. And that was take not one, not two, but 3 different versions of Spider-Man in 3 different, completely different movies and bring them together in a way that made absolute sense. And to me, that was like the perfect comic book crossover movie. Not the Avengers, but Spider-Man. And come next week. I mean, I don't think they're going to work together like that, but come next week, I mean, it seems like the Flash is doing the same thing. We're going to have not 1, but 2 Batman. Possibly 3. I'm not saying that. I'm holding out hope, but I would not be surprised if Christian Bale made an appearance. I doubt it. I don't know. That's me throwing shit to the wall. But I know for a fact, Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton, and I can't wait for that. Do I think it's going to be Spider-Man Far From Home or No Way Home? Not really. Not really, because that's already been done. It's already been done. So, to me, the specialness of No Way Home, what they were able to do, and even bringing out certain emotional story beats that had no business being in this movie. Like Andrew Garfield saving Zendaya, saving her, without even knowing his history.
Yeah.
But it was
that part touched me in the feelies.
Hell yeah, because it's a vindication not only for him and we get to see it, but for us too as an audience.
Yeah, it's a redemption for him.
Redemption, and I loved it. So it's like little things like that. That's the only reason why I keep that movie ahead of all the Spider-Man movies, I'll be honest. It's probably one of my all-time favorite superheroes, period, if not the best one, because of the way it made me feel.
And what I loved about it too, it was redemption for Toby as well, you know, because when he tries to stop Peter from killing Goblin with the glider at the end, you know, he's like, no, this isn't the way. You know, like I thought both of those were beautiful.
You're absolutely right. Forgot about that. So I love that. I really do. But But good God Almighty, when I tell you Across the Spider-Verse is something special, it is right up there.
Yeah, that's great to hear because I really want to see it. I loved Into the Spider-Verse. I just thought it was a wholesome film, funny, good time, and I that's what I've been missing lately is just funny, it's just good wholesome films.
Yeah, this is it.
So like I'm really excited.
This is it. This is definitely that. But again, it's got one of the ending totally sets up the next chapter. It's a cliffhanger ending, and it works, and it is dope. And I sat there like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. So yeah, I can't wait. And my disappointment about not seeing the Spider-Man I wanted to see completely went away because I'm like, well, if there's a third movie, there's obviously going to be some kind of big battle out there, right? Like, so there's no way the Spider-Man I want to see doesn't pop up. There's absolutely no way. So you want to go and save the best for last? Thumbs up. Thumbs up. And I will say, this third one is also going to redefine convention and do things No Way Home did. Because they started it here. Again, there is a cameo in this movie, and it's not a blink and you miss it cameo. There's a dialogue that it's funny, but it's like, oh shit, everybody went crazy. But if you know there's two actually. There's another one too. There's another one that involves the villain that I thought was cool too. But again, I digress. Go see that movie.
Did you so happen to see the box office report today?
Yeah, so I'm looking at that right now. I want to talk about that real quick. So the thing I have an issue with Box Office Mojo, it's not as refined as it once was. Like, it's confusing the crap out of me.
They're a little days late. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like weird because like here I am, I'm on domestic weekend box offices, right? For 2023. And basically what it does is gives you every single weekend the number one movie for that weekend, right? For the box office.
Right.
So, unless the movie came out like on a Wednesday, then it has like the Wednesday to, like, let's say for instance, Little Mermaid, Memorial Day weekend. So it had, well, it came out that Thursday, well, Friday, but the preview Thursday, and then it had till Monday. And so they have like two sets of box office scores for it. So I'm like, all right, whatever. Let's go with the highest one. Little Mermaid, Memorial Day weekend, after all, whatever, from the 26th to the 29th, it looks like. That's exactly what it is, 26th, 29th. All right, so they took into account that Monday. Little Mermaid made 200 million. Let's say 2.8 million. 200.8 million. Not bad. Not bad at all. That was from Thursday. Oh no, from Friday to Monday. $200.8 million. Not bad at all. Last weekend, Spider-Man apparently took in $203.3 million.
And his budget was $100 million.
And that's just domestic. Now I don't know if that's true or not.
I think the worldwide budget for Spider-Man looked like to be around 203.
Yeah, so here I am. So
that's what I thought it was.
So this is what I like to go by, the worldwide box office scores, right? Super Mario is killing it. Super Mario's killing it. It's making fucking buku bucks. It made $566.6 million, almost $0.7 million just domestically. Just here. It made over $500 million here. The foreign countries, everywhere else, that movie made $734.6 million, on pace to make $1 billion just foreign alone. That's crazy.
God.
That's crazy. But it makes sense. Super Mario's been around forever. Right? It makes sense.
Right.
So yeah, man, Super Mario Brothers, my hat tips to you. It's the only billion-dollar movie of the year. The closest one up next is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, coming in at $783 million. So and that
I don't know if they'll make it there.
I don't think so, because now with all of everything coming out now, you gotta see that's on a decline. It's gonna be on well, no, it won't be. See, that's the thing with Disney, and I will give them props for this. They really do that 3-4 month shit before they put their movies up. They really do. Because Ant-Man just came out 2 weeks ago, and that movie came out in February. You know?
Right.
But yeah,
I know you probably were going to ask me this at some point, but the most tickets we sold this week, just since these movies have come out, it's been back and back. Spider-Man has been in the top, Little Mermaid, and then surprisingly, The Boogeyman.
Wait, what was the first one you said?
Yeah. Spider-Man.
Okay. That was the first
Spider-Man was the top one we've been selling since it's come out.
Okay.
Little Mermaid has been shortly behind it. Little Mermaid was in the top, and then when Spider-Man came out, knocked it down a peg.
Yeah.
And then it's been Boogeyman.
I'm actually happy for that. I had this conversation last week in the last podcast with Gam Gam, where because and the Boogeyman is getting good reviews because of the horror movie.
Yeah,
it's a completely.
They're saying it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's a completely different niche. So if people are tired of like superhero movies or remakes, but they like horror, I'll go see Boogeyman. So that makes all the sense in the world. So that might have been smart on their part.
Kids, it's PG-13 as well. So all the kids that want to see is something, they don't have to get ID'd.
That's true. That's a good point. That's a great point.
And I realized that this year selling rated R's, that a lot of these box offices go to these kids that want to sneak into these rated R's.
Dude.
Like I had a group of 14 kids that tried to come in and see a movie. Actually, no. I had a group of kids, and 14 of them under the age of 17, that all paid to go see The Boogeyman.
Oh, PG-13.
So I'm like,
I honestly think they should lower the age for rated R tickets. It should be 17. It really should be. Even 16, in my personal opinion. I mean,
well, it is 17.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it is 17. But I think 16, because if you can be 16, well, you used to be 16 and be able to buy rated M games. I think now it's 17, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I think there needs to be a verbatim, or a case by case, because it's so strict with those type of things. I feel like if parents say it's okay, they should be allowed to. But the thing is we don't even allow that. You have to. Our policy is you have to be the guardian or the parent. You can't be like the sibling or anything. You have to be the guardian or the parent.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, times have changed. Woo, we working in the theater. I'd have probably quit. But let's just go real quick. I want to ask you this: Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, worldwide, in 1 week, has made $221.5, close to $0.6 million worldwide. Right.
Right.
My question to you, because you work at a theater. This week, Transformers Rise of the Beast comes out. Does that movie being like the fucking 6th, 7th movie in the franchise, does that become number 1? Or does that become number 2? Because I think at this point, everybody that's going to see The Little Mermaid has seen it and seen it twice. Spider-Man is going to get, repeated viewings, but The Little Mermaid was for like the girls and Disney fans, right? The people who grew up with it and their kids. But it's over. And here comes Transformers.
And that's what I'm gonna say is that noticing this, Shrek, is that The Little Mermaid is catered to a specific audience. And you may whoever you are, you may disagree with it, but in my opinion, it caters for specifically. And I don't mean to be I'm not trying to come off racially wrong or incorrect or politically incorrect, but just the way the movie is designed, it's catered to little girls. It's catered to the African American community because of the representation, and the Disney fans. And that's all, in my opinion, wrapped around majority of what female. Whereas Spider-Man is more Marvel fans. You have a way broader fan base with Spider-Man. And I don't see that slowing down for a while. But with Transformers, so here's the thing. My manager, he has mentioned that we're anticipating it to be busy for Transformers, because he said that in the past Transformers movies have been really busy. But honestly, in my opinion, I don't see it surpassing Spider-Man.
So you think Spider-Man's going to stay number one?
What's that?
You think Spider-Man's going to stay number one at the box office next weekend?
Yeah, I think so, just because it's not like in the past couple Transformers where you've had recognizable actors. I mean, in this one you have Anthony Ramos, who's not very popular, and you have someone else, I think the female lead, she's not very known or popular either. So there's not really much catering to this film other than just if you like Transformers.
Yeah, so
it's not like there's any really star power. And with how Transformers has performed the past couple films, I just don't see it. Unless this movie is absolutely outstanding, which it's possible it can be, I don't see it overtaking Spider-Man. See, the thing is, man, school just got out in my community like yesterday.
Right.
All the kids are out now. Spider-Man just came out. You know how many kids came up dressed as Spider-Man? I had girls dressed up as Gwen. I had boys dressed up as Miles. I had dudes dressed up as the villains. And I had one little girl coming in dressed up as Ariel, but said she was excited to see Ursula.
Lovely.
I mean, not that was anything to do with it. It was just really funny. But I think Spider-Man, now that school is out, is going to just take that ride all the way into another universe, man.
Wow.
I don't see Spider-Man stopping anytime soon because my theater has sold so many tickets. It's been so busy. And the thing is, let me tell you, I got this job at this theater because I thought it would be slow all the time. I didn't expect that because my theater is the only theater in town, even though we have a Cinemark. And I work for Cinemark, but we have another Cinemark about 20 minutes away that's a nicer, better, bigger theater. I thought my theater wouldn't get much attention. Well, my theater gets a lot of attention. And I have worked so much at this theater than I have at the first theater job I did almost 6 years ago. And after the reports that I've been doing, because they've had me on register all week.
Okay.
Spider-Man has not slowed down, and I do not see it slowing down.
Okay.
And also because Spider-Man is also a cartoon, regardless whether parents don't understand that, they're still going to see it as, oh, it's a kid's movie, let's go see it. You know, I think that kids' movie is going to be, you know, with it being a cartoon and technically a kids' movie, it's going to be continuing because kids' movies in the movie theaters, and as we saw with Super Mario, even though it was a kids' movie, it's a multi-generational film. Yeah, it still did a lot because kids' movies are like toys, man, and kids' movies sell a lot. And Spider-Man is a multiple thing because you get girls that are into Spider-Man, you get girls that are into Marvel, you get boys that are into Spider-Man, you get people that are into Marvel, you get families, you get all sorts of things, you know. And so I just don't see. I would be surprised if Transformers remain number one. It may be number one the first time it drops, but then I see it dropping to 2 or 3.
Oh yeah, no,
because maybe it doesn't do so well.
Yeah, well, I could totally see that. Like, I don't know if it wins the weekend. I'll be honest with you, as much as I love Spider-Man, that movie was dope. I'm a Transformer fan. I grew up a Transformer fan. I hated the Beast Wars. And then I watched the Beast Wars one day because my friend said, oh yeah, Megatron turned into a dragon because he took the spark from old Megatron. I said, what does that even mean? That sentence made no sense. I watched what he talked about, and I said, wait a minute. Yeah, I said, wait a minute. They brought in the original Transformers? They're still locked in... it blew my brain. Because everything became canon, and in continuity, I was like, oh God, this is the best thing ever. So it's shit like that. Look, there's a lot of Transformers fans, right? Like let's just be honest. The Michael Bay movies did not do the purist any favors. But Bumblebee gave people hope. And I will push back just a smidge with the Anthony Ramos thing. He's done several movies, but I think he's like more for a certain niche of people. He's more for the Latin community, honest to God. Trust me, I know.
Yeah, that's the Latin Latino community.
Yeah, because trust me, like the In the Heights movie, I think he was the star of that, and there's some other stuff he's in that my daughter knows. But I'm not going for that. I'm going because Optimus Prime and Optimus Primal are going to be on the screen in live action for the first time. And that, to me, it's like seeing Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland in spider suits on screen at the same time. It's not as big as that. I don't think it's going to get to that momentous of... I don't think I'm going to feel the same way. But the fact that I could sit back and say, holy shit, they made a live-action Transformers movie where the G1 fucking Transformers, the Autobots and Decepticons from G1, are intermingling with fucking Maximals and Predacons. That blows my mind. That Netflix tried to do it with their Cybertron trilogy, and it was terrible. It sucked, and it bothered the fuck out of me that it sucked. There's some redeeming qualities, but it sucked overall. So I'm excited. I am excited. And Unicron. I'm like basically regurgitating what I told Gam last week. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Unicron in live action for real? And not for fake, where Michael Bay had a couple of spikes coming out of the ground and set up a next movie? No, give me all of this. But I do, because I don't work in a theater, and I do follow trends. Domestically, I can't see... I mean, I want it to happen, but I can't see Transformers being Spider-Man. Especially because you're right, and I didn't even think about that fact. School's letting out now. 2 weeks ago, my state, school was done 2 weeks ago. I know in New York, I don't know if it's this week or next week or, but school ends in June also. It could be in 2 weeks. But I didn't think about that. And the fact, and again, you're right. Spider-Man, I don't even think is a PG. I think it's just PG. I'm pretty sure. Because there's really nothing offensive in there. There's no blood.
I think it's PG.
Yeah, there's nothing offensive. It gets dark, but at the same time, it's not like, oh my God, I can't show my kid this. So I think with that in play, school getting out across the country, it's an easy PG movie. It's a cartoon, like you said, and that makes all the sense in the world. I could see Spider-Man holding on to number one domestically. Now, internationally, I don't think so. Internationally, those Transformer movies are like the fucking Fast and the Furious. They make all the money.
Yeah, they do well overseas.
Yeah, they make all the money. So, like, on like a worldwide scale, I'd be interested into seeing what that box office brings in next week. Does the worldwide sales surpass Spider-Man? Or does Spider-Man hang on by a thread on the web of awesomeness? Because it is awesome. It is awesome. I will say this too real quick. This is not a spoiler. This is just a heads up to everybody and anybody who hasn't seen the movie yet. there are no end credit sequences in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So if you want to sit there and wait for like that first bumper ending and listen to the music and jam out and look at the cool animation and shit, then it pops up and it says Miles will be back, in the next movie. I think it's called Beyond the Spider-Verse. Then the credits start to roll regular. You can get up and leave. There's no other credits. It's not a spoiler, just a heads up. For those who have to pee. Because I had to pee. I was like,
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I was like, I got to go. I looked that shit up on my phone. I was like, oh, no, let's go. But, yeah, I digress. Let me ask you now, since all that, what is the atmosphere like working at a theater during Blockbuster season? Because here's the deal. You had Fast X, Little Mermaid, Spider-Man, you got Transformers this week, and The Flash next week. It's just back to back to back to back to back big blockbuster movies. Like, how crowded gets your theater? You answered that already. But what's the environment feel like? Like, you go to certain theaters and it's just like people are just like zombies. They get their tickets, they go get their concessions, they go to the theater, they come out. But is there like this atmosphere of like, whoa, excitement? Because I love those types of atmospheres.
It's kind of hit and miss, or it's kind of hit or miss because you get all types. Like lately, the past couple of weeks, it's been okay with like people that are excited. But what's interesting is I've been getting a lot of people coming in that have been telling me, I haven't been to a movie theater in 5 or 6 years.
Shit.
How do I do this? And they have no idea how to select their seats on a screen, or really that's even possible. The last time they like, I had a person, they say, the last time I came to the theater, you just bought the ticket. That's all they said. And I'm like, wow, that's a while ago. And I'm getting a lot of those, and that's what's been shocking me. But for the most part, you get the excited people, but you get every once in a while those individuals that come in and they're just assholes. They're just meh, and they're just ready to get their stuff out of concessions and go sit down in their seat and watch their movie, which is completely fine. They might be having a bad day. They might just be antisocial. That's okay. But for the most part, it's been like, it almost feels like, how the media's been saying the theaters have been dying. I think that is a load of bullshit. I think it depends location-wise and what's in theaters, because this me, since starting working at this theater, it has been very, very enthusiastic with a bunch of kids excited to see films. And I think we're getting into this now. The adults are going to start being able to come out and start enjoying films, because we got Fast X. It was busy, but not super busy. We have Indiana Jones coming out. We got The Flash, and we got a whole bunch of other type of movies coming out in the summer. And so it's going to be, it's going to be kind of a wavering teeter-totter of kids' movies and adult films. I do not know, though, what kid movie comes after Spider-Man, but I know the environment has been, it's been a fun place to work, but again, it also depends who you get. Because when I go to work, I present myself as a very enthusiastic and supportive person, and I kind of just keep my nice side out, where normally I'm that way, but I try to keep myself guarded and grounded and kind of serious, because I just, I have to exert myself to be very enthusiastic, but I try. But also, that's just how I like to talk to customers, because, I'm that way and I sell stuff because of my attitude, and people buy into that, then kudos for me.
Wait. So what you're saying is you're a salesman.
Yes, I am a salesman, and I upsell the shit out of things. I try to milk that a lot, because I'm 28 and most of the people working at this theater are in their 20s, and none of them know how to upsell. And my managers know what upselling is, and I do that to look good.
That's great. No, listen. The more they see that, I mean, dude, that's how you get up there. You know what I mean? That's a beautiful thing.
And the thing is, starting at this theater, they've already promoted me several positions in just the 2 months I've been there, just because of me having prior experience. Like, I'm already doing box office, and you have to work at least a year to 6 months before you can do that.
Wow. See, that's
which
awesome.
is insane. So, but for the most part, how I personally feel is I feel like theaters are making a comeback, and that's happy. That makes me happy. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that's how it feels like for me at this theater. Is like, it's been packed, people are excited, and just the fact that people are saying, yeah, we've been waiting for a reason to come back to the theater. It's been almost 5-6 years. Now we want to, come around and see what it's like, and that's exciting to me. That's what I get excited about the most, when they say, hey, we haven't been to a theater in a while. And I'm like, wow, it makes me wonder, what brought you back in? Why did you decide to do that? What can I do to update you on the experience and stuff? Like, that's what interests me, the fact that something is out there that has piqued someone's interest to come back. Because at the end of the day, I love movie theaters more than I do going and seeing film at home, because I love the huge giant screens, and I love the experience, and I love the seats, and I just love the experience.
Yeah.
And of course, sure, at home, that's fine too. I love being in the comfort of my own home, being able to watch stuff. But and I'm an introverted person, but there's something about going into a room full of people, sitting down together, even though if they're strangers, watching something on a big screen, and picking up off that energy that they give out, and what makes it you resonate with that. And to me, that's exciting, and yeah, I know it's expensive if you get concessions and stuff, but that's part of the experience. It's just like going to like a theme park or whatever, or a concert. You get that type of social dopamine, and I like that. I like that a lot. And so to me, what lately it feels like this is kind of like a comeback, because like I had a family also say like, yeah, it's been, now that COVID is quote unquote over, we're really comfortable with coming out in public again. So and we love the movie theater, and we're so upset that it went away and there was all these restrictions. So now we're going to come back and start spending our time at the theater again and stuff. And I thought that was really cool to hear. They have the money to do that, then that's fine. But that's where I'm excited about and happy to see, and I just hope that's the truth. I just think what needs to happen is there just has to be films worth seeing.
Yeah.
Because if we get just these filler films, it's not going to be great.
I agree with that 100%. And I'm not going to say I'm looking at you, Marvel, but I'm kind of looking at you, Marvel, because I liked Guardians 3. I for the most part, I dug what I've seen this year from Marvel. But at the same time, what Sony did with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was just like a slap in the face. Like, this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Oh, and see, that's, it's funny you mentioned that, not to cut you off, but I had a person come out to me the other night after the theater, and I asked them, hey, how'd your film go? And they said, I've been a big fan of Guardians of the Galaxy, but now that I've walked out of that film, I just kind of want to go home and kind of watch a funny movie. And I'm like, wow. And they're like, I feel kind of really down after watching that. And I've gotten that multiple times. Like, Guardians 3 has been a really dark, sad film.
Yeah, there's some moments.
And I don't know where. I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know. But that's been what I've been getting as a reaction to most of the Guardians tickets I sell.
I won't go into major spoilers, but the movie's been out for a while. You work at a theater, you should get some comp tickets. But what I will say is, I can see where they think it's sad. I, on the other hand, when I saw all the reviews before I saw the movie, and how everybody was saying, oh, it's so sad, it's heart-wrenching, it's gut-wrenching, all this shit, I'm like, oh my God, they're killing everybody. Like, I was like, they're gonna kill Drax.
Yeah, and I know they have the animal animal testing stuff. Other than that, I just don't know what else happens.
Yeah, no. At the end of the day, I walked out of that theater looking around like, y'all for real? People were crying about this shit? Why? This shit wasn't sad. This was happy. It was a celebration.
People are oblivious, man. They're not like you and I that actually pay attention to these things in depth and detail.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, okay, so you fell in love with a couple of animals. And then they're not there no more. But you fucking knew that.
Yeah. As you notice, our new trend is animals are extremely lovable and cherished by people nowadays.
Yeah, I can
You don't hurt animals in movies.
You don't. Dude, that's a great point because I'll go way off track, but I'm going to get back on it. But I got to make this point that you said that. Because in the marketing for that movie, Sisu, that hit theaters for 1 week and then was on Amazon Prime. It even says it in the trailers because they want the people to see this movie. Don't worry, the dog's okay.
No dog gets hurt.
Right, and it was like, come please see the movie. We want y'all to see, this dude kicking Nazi ass. The dog doesn't get hurt. But
and you know what's funny about that? It's the same guys that made John Wick.
Yeah, exactly. And it just is it a fatigue? You know what I'm saying? Like I look at it with the Marvel and the superhero movies. Look, I thoroughly enjoyed Shazam 2. I really did. I really liked Shazam 2. So when I saw the box office, I was like, damn, that movie ain't make no fucking money.
Mike, I was going to ask you, was there a lot of woke, and I hate saying woke because I don't mean to be, what's the word, insensitive or wrong in that way. But I gather there was a lot of woke jokes and points made in that film. Was that true?
I honestly don't know. I don't recall. But then again, I don't get caught up in the left-right politics. I like what I like. If it makes me laugh, I'm laughing. If that offends you, I'm sorry. If it doesn't, great.
The only reason why I bring it up is because there's this big notion, I'm sure you've heard it, is the term go woke, go broke situation.
Yeah, that's been around for a
while. They do a lot of the representation of the LGBTQ and certain demographic of ethnicities and stuff. And whereas that doesn't bother me, I feel like it does bother a lot of moviegoers.
Okay.
And I was just wondering if Shazam had followed that trend into that, and that's what hurt the film.
So my problem with that argument is this, and it's not your argument, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Go woke, go broke.
Right.
There are certain movies, there are certain things out there that absolutely went a little bit too far with a certain agenda, right? That's fine.
Right.
That's fine. If that's what you want, and again, it's a business. You want to get as many eyes on your product as possible. So if you look at if you survey who's going to the theaters and shit, and you see that there's a large group of people over here that ain't going to the theaters, well, how can we get them over here? Right? You pander to them. You cater to them. That's what you do. Okay, fine.
Right.
As long as it's good, I don't care. I don't care. Look, back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, maybe early 90s, the Crying Game came out. It was about the guy thought the dude was a girl or some shit, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I only got it from Ace Ventura after he kissed Einhorn, and Einhorn was a man. Lois is Einhorn.
Right.
Einhorn is, yeah. So I know in Shazam, first off, the different races in the movie, I slapped that to the bottom. Like, you can't come at me with that. Like, nobody could come at me with that shit, because here's the deal. The movie establishes a foster home. It's a foster home. So they didn't just adopt a certain demographic of kids. They adopt children. They fostered children. Whether they were white, black, Spanish, Oriental, fat, skinny, didn't matter. They adopted children. They fostered children. So all that shit, you could go that way with me. You could miss me completely. If that's your beef, you have a problem. That's the way it is, because there's no agenda there. There's zero. It's zero. It's a foster home. There was when I used to live in Brooklyn, there was a foster. It wasn't a home. I forgot what the fuck they called it, but it was like a foster home. It was a foster shelter. Kids weren't being fostered or adopted, so they were at this place, right? It looked like a church, which is funny because it was across the street from a church. I digress. But in that place, I used to wait for the bus right across the street all the time. There was a multitude of kids that were all different races and ethnicities. But here's what I mean. In Brooklyn, there really was only 3. Black, white, and Spanish. Mixed in with a little bit of Asian. You know what I'm saying? So when I look across the street and I see these kids hanging out at that place, it was white, black, and Spanish. But I digress again. The ethnicity thing for Shazam, you could miss me with that. That to me, that's somebody really trying to hate on a movie that there's no reason to. The gay thing, there is a kid in that movie who is gay and then says, I'm gay. That's it. He's not kissing boys. He's not doing nothing that's going to be offensive to people. That was it. That was it. It didn't take away from the movie. So, I mean, I thinking back when you said that, and I'm like, yeah, all right. The whole movie was about family, Fast and Furious, right? It was about family sticking together, family trying to keep a secret, right? Because again, the foster parents don't know that these kids are fucking superheroes. They don't know. And to me, I loved it. I thought it was a fucking romp. It was funny. It was great. I looked at the fucking box office and I'm like, let's sigh. But what I thought was, it's Shazam. And in all honesty, Shazam isn't a big enough name to fucking, garner the type of audiences that Spider-Man is. Let's be honest. That's how I looked at it.
We gotta remember too, the first Shazam, although it was successful, they were still talking about that. Is that movie going to be successful for its first going too?
Exactly.
I mean, that movie had a lot of doubts coming out, and it was looking like it wasn't going to be successful as it ended up being at first, and it ended up catching on, but just barely. It
was more. I'm gonna say it's more so from the charisma of Zachary Levi in that role as Shazam, especially in the first movie, and the kid who was in Stephen King's It, who was one of the kids.
Yeah, I got you.
The one that plays Freddy.
Eddie.
Yeah, the one. Oh, Eddie played Freddy. That's hysterical. Eddie from It played Freddy.
Not really.
Yeah, he's free. Yeah.
I didn't really.
So I mean, the charisma, the acting, the it's all there, And the same thing goes for this movie. The ensemble cast is there. It's great. I loved it. There wasn't an agenda. There was not an agenda, in my opinion, at all. And the movie's on HBO Max now. I mean, you could see it for yourself. So I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I might do that.
Yeah, I
forgot that it's there. I forgot I have those.
Those streaming services?
Yeah, I've been watching this show lately called From, and it's on MGM Plus, and it's about this group of people that ended up winding up in this mysterious town that's being held hostage by monsters and mysterious supernatural forces, and they're being kept there and tortured and brought to the brink of insanity, and they're all trying to with the people that come in and get stuck there, trying to figure out how to get out of all of it. So it's called From. It's actually pretty interesting, but That's what I've been doing lately, but I forgot I had HBO Max and Netflix and all that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the reason why you forgot about that is because you're too busy playing video games on your console. Segway! Here we go.
Yeah, Witcher 3.
Here we go. So, we just spent an hour talking about movies. I want to spend this next chunk of however long we go on the video games. I want to start with this, though. My Xbox in my room keeps...
Crap PlayStation event was?
Oh, we did that already. But my Xbox in my room keeps turning on by itself. I don't know why. It got to be. It got to be. It never happened before.
You got to call Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray, man. I can't help you there.
Hello, I bought your last video game. Could you come and exercise my demonic Xbox, please? No, I'm dead serious. It started Sunday. I came in the room and I thought maybe I might have brushed the controller because I usually keep the controller on my desk. I thought maybe I brushed the controller when I was getting my tablet or something. So then it turned the Xbox on. But I came in, I was like, oh shit, the Xbox on. What the hell? Shut it off. But no. Last night, I come home from work. I come in here, get changed. I'm like, why is the Xbox on? I didn't touch it. I wasn't home. Shut it off. This morning, I come out the shower. Fucking Xbox is on. Why is the Xbox on? I come home from work again today. The fucking Xbox is on. So I unplugged the controller like, fuck you. Maybe it's a static charge that jump starts my controller that turns the Xbox on. I unplugged it. As we were podcasting, not even 20 minutes ago, I'm sitting right here to the right of me, and my Xbox went on. Controller unplugged and everything. I'm like, okay, motherfucker. It's haunted, Chase. What I'm trying to tell you, the Xbox is haunted. I'm scared.
Oh, I remember reading about those type of issues a while ago. Xboxes are prone to do that, but there could be multiple reasons why. For one, I assume you didn't turn on your TV, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So there is a setting on a TV called HDMI DC or CE or something like that. So what that is that means when you have a remote hooked up to your TV, like a regular TV remote, like I have a Samsung TV, I can use my TV remote to control my PlayStation, and it works for Xbox just the same. But if that's not the case, it only works like when you turn the TV on, though. So if the TV is off and stuff, then that's totally not it. It could be a thing where your power cable and your power, the box, the power brick, it might just need to be unplugged for like an hour and then plug it back in, but unplug it from the wall as well.
Right.
So I would try that. Just leave it unplugged for like an hour. Or like when you go to bed, leave it off overnight and then plug it back in. And or the possibility could be there is some type of internal issue, and I believe it could be also temperature related if it's too hot inside your house.
Oh no, it's a comfortable temperature in here. Yep, it's nice and cool in here.
Yeah. Well, I would just try keeping the keep it unplugged for like an hour or whenever you feel like you need to, and see if that changes. But when I get a chance, I can send you some other stuff that I know of that might be able to fix it or help you get some more information. But it's been a long time because it was only with my Xbox I was doing that. But my PlayStation 4 was doing that for a bit too, and that's what I had to do for it.
Well, I thought maybe it was Microsoft sending me subliminal messages that their Xbox State of Gaming is coming out this week. See how I did that? And I was like, all right, Xbox, I get it. You're going to drop something this week. But what? Because here's the deal. You, me, JR, we did a State of Gaming a couple weeks back, right after Sony did their thing, right? And
Right.
I didn't watch it. All I watched was that Spider-Man 2 15 minute shit. I was like, oh my God, I'm in. I'm buying a PS5.
Yeah.
But then what? That weekend or a week after that, you sent us in the link in the messenger chat that Microsoft is pretty much going to show the same games. And in that podcast, we talked about how Microsoft really doesn't have any type of exclusives on a docket. So,
Right.
with that being said, right, this afternoon I'm at work, or earlier this morning, I should say, about noon, I'm talking to a couple of my coworkers. Cool dudes, big time gamers. More so than I am. I like to game, but these dudes game. Like y'all. And we were talking about this, and I didn't know. I knew the Microsoft thing was coming up, but I didn't know it was this week or this weekend. You know, I was like, wait, what? It comes out this weekend?
Yeah, the start of Summer Game Fest on the 8th.
Yeah, so I didn't know. So I'm like, I asked one dude, I go, because I had looked this up the other day. I looked up Gears of War 6. I did. Nothing. Crickets. Not in the works. It's not happening right now. We know it's coming, but that's not the focus. I was like, well, fuck. Okay. So I brought that up today. And he would, because that's what we were talking about, Gears of War. So the dude was disappointed, but he was like, yo, but they're talking about they're going to show something from Fable. Oh, that turned my head around. I said, wait, oh shit, I forgot about Fable.
Yeah, Fable 16.
Yeah, that's a Microsoft. Fable.
Or was it Final Fantasy 16? I can't remember.
That's Final Fantasy's got to be. Fable's, I think, up to 4.
Yeah, I was going to say. I know it's one of those F1s.
Yeah. But I was like, oh shit, okay. That's an exclusive I had completely forgot about. Not saying I'm going to play it, but that's an exclusive I forgot about. But then it got me thinking, what else? Is it really going to be just a rehash of the Sony one minus the Sony exclusives? What do you think? What are we going to get?
No. I think, honestly, these PlayStation and Xbox events that they're doing, I mean, Microsoft hasn't had theirs yet, so we don't know what they're selling. But I think PlayStation's event was just a thing to kind of steal. This is how it's going to be, and this is honestly how I feel. PlayStation is at a point right now where they're just trying to, in my opinion, bully everyone. They're trying to show their flag and wave their dick around saying, hey, we're the top dog game company, regardless how you want, and we're going to make it known. And so we're going to try and put ourselves out there before everyone else. And so what they did was they made their little PlayStation event just because people were demanding it. And they were trying to make it this big thing like they wanted. Because on the Summer Game Fest on June 10th, there's going to be 50 plus games shown from multiple game companies such as Microsoft, Xbox, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, and so many more. But our main companies are going to be there.
Hold up.
And they're all showing stuff.
Hold up. What's it called? Summer Game Fest?
Summer Game Fest.
You mean...
And it starts the 8th.
You
but
mean...
the Future Game Show.
Wait a minute.
It's called the Future Game Show.
Are you telling
and
me...
it's June 10th.
Are you telling me that this is what E3 has now become? Because this is the time E3 comes every year.
Yes.
This is the new E3.
Because E3's canceled this year.
So this is
but
E3.
This is not partnered. This is not partnered with E3. This is partnered with Jeff Keighley, who does the Game Show Awards, which has now become the new gaming media outlet.
So
as we all know, since the Game Awards now are the most popular thing, apparently.
So Keighley is doing this because E3 said they're not doing it this year, but this is the time E3 always comes out. So Keighley said, well, if you're in a fucking a pattern, if you're comfortable with, oh, it's June, E3's coming out. Wait, what's the E3's not here? But there's some other video game thing. That's all this guy Jeff Keighley.
Summer Game Fest happened a couple of years ago. It's fairly new, not as old as E3, But what happens is basically what's going on. Jeff Keighley has words about E3 as well. But the problem is E3 was never supposed to be just a gaming event. It was supposed to be for PC merchandising and games thrown into that to honor their products. And then it just turned into video games. Well, now E3 is like, yeah, we're just kind of backing out of that. Well, since I think it was since the beginning of COVID, Summer Game Fest was the thing where they showed all of these games coming out digitally. So it's not like you can eat and you can. My theater's selling tickets for it. So on June 10th, I can go and watch it on the big screen if I wanted to.
Oh shit!
I'm not going to, because why would I do that when I can just see it at home?
Right.
But that's what it's become. Is since E3 is technically no more and probably not going to be around anymore. Summer Game Fest is the new. Let's see what's coming on, and it's not just for PlayStation. It's everybody. It's for PC games, because on the list of summer game show events, I'll just read them to you. So we got. All right. So we got. Can you still hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So June 8th, we got Day of the Devs. An upcoming look at indie games. Then we also have on June 8th the company Devolver will be showing off their games. Then we got Tribeca Game Spotlight, which is a digital showcase. And then June 10th, we have another indie game, and then another indie game, and then June 10th at 1 o'clock, 10 a.m. Pacific time. 10 a.m. Pacific time is the Feature Game Show, which is a showcase of over 50 million multi-format games. And then on the 11th, you have the Microsoft Showcase, along with the PC, and then...
Uh-oh. Think I lost Brother Chase. Oh, boy. Well, that was crazy. Oh, wait.
Hold on.
Brother Chase is back. Or is he? We don't know. That's the beauty of this. We don't know. Where'd Brother Chase go?
Can you hear me?
There we go. Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So where did you lose me at?
I don't remember, but you said something and I was like, we lost Brother Chase.
Okay. Do you remember what
Oh, Microsoft. You were up to Microsoft.
Okay, so Microsoft will be June 11th.
11th, yes.
And then followed by the PC showcase right after. And then June 12th will be Capcom's showcase.
What is Capcom showcasing? They already got Street Fighter 6 out. It is. What are they going to do?
They're going to show Street Fighter 7, 8, and 9.
No!
They might show the next Dino Crisis. Here's hoping.
Oh, wait, we were talking about that not too long ago.
Yeah.
Shit.
They're probably going to be showing the next slate of Resident Evil.
Hold up, time out. See? My Xbox just went on. See?
I don't see your Xbox.
I know you
see the
did.
Controller and Modern Warfare, it looks like.
It just went on. That son of a bitch. I don't know why that's happening.
Yeah,
as soon as you were talking about Microsoft and Capcom, you turned on, didn't you? You dirty, rotten little Xbox.
No, Xbox. It knows my PlayStation's on too, because I'm watching Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah right now in the background. But yeah, so the summer game show, the Summer Game Fest is just like a couple of days long of an event, about a week, if you want to more or less. And it's just going to be showcasing the games. And I think what it was is PlayStation wanted to get ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Because of they just wanted to make themselves on the forefront. And in the ultimate reality of it, it kind of shot them in the foot. Because all we got was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And we got a handheld system that's not even going to be a handheld system. It's just going to be a product we can use. And people are tearing the shit out of that thing.
Because you'll be taking the shit while playing that thing. It's just terrible.
Well, yeah, that's cool. But I want to be at Walmart and play God of War in line. I don't want to have my PlayStation on.
Yeah, see, this is why I don't. This is what I don't. I don't like those types of peripherals. But let me ask you a question, if you recall this, because it's going to get to a point. Who was the first major company, and out of the major companies, I mean the big three: Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo. Who was the first to pull out of E3? It was Nintendo, right? Where they did their own thing on the side during E3 week.
Believe it?
Because I swear to God,
you mean just recently, or when E3 started to collapse?
Probably, I would say within the last 5 to 8 years.
What happened was it was actually Microsoft and Sony. It was either Microsoft and Sony were the start of it. And I can't remember who was first, whether it was Microsoft or Sony, but one of them caused the ripple effect to where we're going to pull away and only show our own stuff. And then after that, and it was Nintendo and all of that stuff. Nintendo and all of them didn't really pull out. They still had stuff to show at E3. But what it was Microsoft and Sony. Those were the biggest contenders that were there. And then they just dipped because it's like, why do we need to be a part of this when we can have our own slate of stuff?
That's what it felt like, because it was like they were doing their own showcases on their own in different venues, but all in the same pretty much area where E3 was. They were just, because I remember, I think it was right before Last of Us 2 came out, where they had it in like that fucking farmhouse setting and all the lights strung up on top. I remember that and I was like, oh, this is going to be fucking crazy, Sony. What are they doing?
Yeah, it was really cool.
You know, so and I remember Nintendo doing it, but everything Nintendo did was like pre-taped on a soundstage, random place. You see Reggie Fils-Aimé come out, then you see the creator of Mario, which I'm losing mad cred for that because I forgot his name. But you know what I'm talking about.
The Japanese man.
The Japanese Miyamoto. You see Miyamoto, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was all done on soundstage and green screen. Fuck, not even a soundstage, green screen. It was in their office, pretty much. Right. They were in the Nintendo offices of America and Japan. And then they just, spliced it together. And I remember that. I was like, wow, what the fuck, E3? But I used to watch E3 for the coverage. I liked, you would have IGN, GameSpot. Back in the day, you would have fucking G4. That's what put me onto E3, G4. Back in the day.
Yeah, and then G4 came back for a little bit, and then it just didn't.
It wasn't the same.
Any more hype.
Yeah, it wasn't the same. But when G4 came back, I would not watch coverage on there. I would still go to IGN or GameSpot, and it was good coverage. It was good coverage. But now, with E3 gone, and I guess they're gone because the big three said we're going to do our own thing. This kind of feels like CinemaCon, but for games.
Pretty much.
It's crazy because when you read off today, this is what we're doing. Tomorrow, this is what's going on. Yeah, it was like an itinerary. Yeah. E3 really never had an itinerary. It was like, all right, Microsoft's going on, Sony's going on, and then it's just games.
Right.
It's fucking crazy.
Which to me, in a way, I kind of like that better because, but I mean, I don't know. Now that I only have a PlayStation, I don't mind just watching PlayStation Showcase because I don't have an Xbox. If I had an Xbox and PlayStation, though, then I would be in both worlds, but I don't. Well, not like it was last year when I had an Xbox and a PlayStation.
It's crazy you say that, though, because I would watch all the showcases just because. I would watch the Nintendo. I don't have a Nintendo system. I just want to see, are you going to put something out that's going to make me want to buy a Nintendo system again? I doubt it highly. It ain't happening. I have not bought a Nintendo system since the Wii U, and the only reason why I bought that was because my daughter wanted to play Mario Kart. She played it for 3 days. It became a brick. No, I'm lying. My brother bought me a Monster Hunter, which I think at that point in time, there was a Monster Hunter for the Wii or the Wii U, And he bought it for me because that was his thing. And I played with him. I played that for like 2 weeks. And I was like, yeah, bro, I'm not going to trade it in. I'm going to give it back to you. You traded it. Like, I'm sorry. I just ain't into it.
Yeah, I think Monster Hunter right now is like $6 on the PlayStation Store.
I'm sure it is.
And you know what? I tried getting into Monster Hunter 2. I just can't. There's just something about the anime style video games, like the hard Japanese based games. I just can't get into them, man.
It's funny you say that because there's a Konami back in the day. I was still in New York. This game is that old. I was in New York for a minute because this was like 2005, I want to say. 2004, 2005. But, and that was the sequel. There was a game called Zone of the Enders that Konami made. And I never watched Gundam, right? But holy shit, this game looked like Gundam. And it looked like a straight up anime that you can play. And I was like, I love games like that. This is why that's why I got into Zelda. I hated the Zelda games. Hated those games. And the Nintendo, I hated them. The Super Nintendo, I didn't even play it. The fucking Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, get the fuck out of here. Miss me with that shit. When the GameCube came out, and I saw a cel-shaded little sprite of Link, I was like, man, that's a cartoon. You could play you could literally play a cartoon. It was like Parappa the Rapper, but I never played Parappa. I played a little bit. I was like, I don't like this game. But I was like, wait. I can play as a cartoon, and I bought it, and for the love of God, it was one of my favorite games ever made. Till this day, I still back that. Loved it. To the point where I went and I wound up buying Link to the Past? Whatever the Super Nintendo game was, I think it was Link to the Past. I bought it on the Game Boy Advance. I would go to work. I was on the bus, then on the train. Coming back home, on the train, then on the bus. Playing that shit. Taking a shit, playing that shit on my Game Boy Advance. I loved it. But like my dude said earlier today, when I asked about, well, what Microsoft gonna do? And he said, well, they're talking about Fable. Fable's a Zelda clone. Make no mistake about it. I want to say Zelda started it, but you got shit like Final Fantasy and all that, but it's a Japanese role-playing game. Disguised as an American role-playing game. But that's the gameplay. It's Fable. It's like Zelda. It's an action RPG. You roam around, you find things to do, then you go and you progress the story, then you go and you farm, or you go to somebody's house and you gotta chase chickens. I ain't got time for that shit. I can't get that immersed anymore. I can't. I'm getting older. I want short and sweet. Give me a game like God of War 2, for instance, right? Ragnarok. How long was that game, do you figure? Roughly 10 hours? 12?
You mean the campaign?
Yeah, the campaign.
The campaign alone's 30.
Shit, did I spend 30 hours on that motherfucker?
Yeah. If you play it just the campaign, it's 30. If you go to completionist, it's another 40.
You know, it's funny.
It also depends. It depends your difficulty level too, because if you're playing it on like lower difficulties too, that gets also brought down.
Yeah,
but like if you collect a lot of things too, that adds more to it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's what I like about, and that's, my beef with Sony. We're doing the same fucking game over and over and over again. It's just a different skin, a different story, but it's the same fucking type of gameplay. But I will say what I do love, especially with God of War, with things that I'm comfortable with, franchises. I don't have to do all that extra shit. I can just run through the damn story. You can choose if you want to do that extra stuff. I like that. I mean, shit, I did that with Horizon Forbidden West. There was a racing mission. I hate racing games. I can't do them. I suck completely. So I won't do it. That's why when Grand Theft Auto and shit comes out and I get stuck at a racing mission that you need to do it to progress the story, I get frustrated. I'm like, motherfucker. Fucking Horizon Forbidden West had some racing thing? Dude, I bypassed that shit completely. Completely. I don't need
I was never a
100%.
I was never a fan of racing games, racing segments either.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like in The Witcher 3 or in like Red Dead Redemption, they're like, race our horses.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I don't want to fucking race. I want to fight monsters.
Yeah, that was one thing about Red Dead Redemption 1. I used to get so mad, like, oh, you want to race? Why can't I just pull out my 6-shot, go into fucking bullet mode and end this sucker right here? Race over, I won.
Right.
Like, oh,
Right.
God. Like, but I digress.
And see, what's funny is in The Witcher, if you race your horses, and if you like don't know this, if you just stay in front of your opponent that's racing you, that's designed to where they can't get past you. They won't move past you. So you can just like shadow box them into this fucking, keep them behind you. And it's really fucking funny. And that's how you can win every race.
So was that built in? Like, did they keep that aspect of the game with the remaster?
I don't think they know about it.
Oh, so that's like that's a programming error.
Because you can see they'll try to go around you, but they won't like push you out of the way. At least on mine, they don't. They stay completely behind me. In any race I'm in, I just keep them behind me, and I'm fine.
That's actually really funny, man. So let me ask you this.
I don't do races, waste time.
Let me ask you this. With the fake E3 coming up this weekend, I can't believe... Dude, I used to take off from work for E3.
Right. I remember doing podcasts a couple times, and we would watch it together.
Dude, I mean, back before I even knew you, back in Brooklyn, we used to take off and... whose house are we going to? It's E3. And it's like... It kills me, because, it's like... It's fucking E3. We should be excited. What games are coming out? Like, what are we doing? What's Nintendo doing? What's Xbox? What's Microsoft doing? What's Sony's doing? Now Sony.
And to add to that, just before, because I know where you're going with all this, the big topic right now is with, even though this Summer Game Fest going on, there's talk of like where Sony is at with their game developments right now. And the big topic is in the community is that Sony is in a place where they are not showing much of their stuff because they are actually trying to they're at a point where they're forced to give their franchises a break. Like God of War, and they're saying like after Spider-Man 2, there's going to be a gap because we got some Wolverine coming afterwards. And then there's going to be a gap with The Last of Us and Uncharted, stuff like that. Even though we're at a break with Uncharted and probably never getting an Uncharted game again, unless they continue. Gap. And then follow suit is even though they announced the next Horizon game, then after that there's going to be a break, and then Ghost of Tsushima 2 will be coming out, and then there's going to be they're trying to incorporate new IPs, but the problem is they don't have anything ready to show yet
because they keep going to their bread and fucking butter, The Last of Us.
Yeah, what makes the money, and unfortunately, I hate to say it, but I don't want them to do that to God of War. God of War is at a part where I love it and I'm happy where it's at. Even though I'm never gonna deny getting a God of War game or reject it, but give God of War a little bit of time, and then if you want to give us an actual sequel, make it to where it needs to go, and make it with Kratos. Don't have it in a Atreus game. So. Well, let's give it time, though.
Well, we did discuss this in our God of War Ragnarok review, where you can totally see on this channel. It was an awesome 2-hour review. But we talked about that. No, think about it, though, because, and I was just about to bring this up, and then it hit me. I'm like, wait, they did this. So I was about to say Ghost of Tsushima. I haven't played the first one. I have it. It's sitting up there. I should have put it on and played it. But Resident Evil 4 came out, Dead Island 2 came out. Okay. Like, I started playing, and then because Transformers Rise of the Beast is coming out, I've been playing Transformers.
If you want a game artistically and musically just to give you huge amounts of dopamine Ghost of Tsushima is just a beautiful game to listen to and look at.
And I get that.
It's gorgeous.
No, what I was gonna say, and then it dawned on me. Oh wait, we did it with God of War already. Was if I was Sony, if I was in charge, and I'm looking at all the studios, and I'm in charge of all the studios, I would say, okay, look, we're making a sequel. I didn't play the game, so I don't know if it left off where there's a sequel possibility, right?
Ghost of Tsushima?
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Okay, so then you expect a sequel. You expect a sequel, right? What I would say is,
I expect a sequel to be shown next year, not this year.
No, but what I'm saying though is, like, if the game leaves you off where you expect a sequel, then a sequel is coming. So what I would say, as, like, let's say the head of Sony video game department, I would say to whoever's making Ghost of Tsushima, I forgot what studio is it. Is it Insomniac?
Sucker Punch.
Sucker Punch. I love Sucker Punch. I would say to Sucker Punch, okay, here's the deal. We're going to make this sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, but this is it. Like, don't leave it open-ended. Tell your story, end it here. 2 games. Work on a new IP. Because here's the problem. People start relying on the IP and not the studios. And the studios have proven time and time again, especially with Sony, that they can fucking create new IPs. That makes me sick. But this day and age, it's all about what works. What's the money? That's why there's 20 different versions of The Last of Us. I will never shit on that game. Never. I don't care what anybody says about Last of Us 2. I haven't played it. But I don't care what anybody says about that. That game was the first game that as soon as I fucking beat it, I did not put my controller down and shut the game off and go get something to eat. I turned that shit right back out and I started playing right away, all over again. And didn't put in only 20 minutes or an hour. I sat there for like 4 fucking hours after I just sat there for like 6 fucking hours. Like, I literally zoned out with it. It was a beautiful fucking game. I had so much fun with it. It was so good.
It was a great story, yeah.
It was a great... But what kills me is that Naughty Dog, it was Naughty Dog, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Gave us Uncharted. Don't tell me that they can't do a 3rd or a 4th or a 5th. You know what I'm saying? It has been done. You have proven franchises.
Uncharted 4 was one of the top-selling video games when it came out. Like, it surpassed almost all of the Uncharteds.
It makes me sick to no end, knowing that Sony knows this shit. So if I was a Sony exec, I'd say, here we go. Sucker Punch. Ghost of Tsushima 2 is it for this franchise for right now. You want to come back and revisit this in about 8 to 10 years? So be it. But right now, we're going to end this game and we're going to do something new. Yeah. That's the only way to get people back involved.
And so also get this. I'm sure you've heard of Days Gone and you've heard about the reception of that.
I don't know the reception. What was the reception like? What was the
So Days Gone was a game that was very hyped and it launched buggy and so it got ripped up by critics. However, it has become a almost record, I wouldn't say, okay, maybe not record breaking, but it successfully sold well. But Sony's not going to give it a sequel because of the reception in the beginning. And I think that is bad.
So what you're telling me is, in the beginning of this game's lifespan, it came out unfinished.
Came out buggy, yes.
Sony saw that bad and negative response. Then the game got fixed in the fastest turnaround a game could ever be fixed through updates or whatever they needed to do. And Sony didn't look at that and say, okay, let's make a sequel. Sony basically said, it's not our fault, it's your fault. Because I'm pretty sure it was Sony's fault.
Yep. And Bend Studios, they wanted to make a sequel, but Sony denied them. But then, so we're stuck there, and it left off with a sequel ending for sure. And it would have been great because Sam Witwer, you know who Sam Witwer is,
I do. I love that dude. Yep.
he plays the character he portrays. I wanted to follow him forever. He's pure heroic and just great at what he does. I loved him as Star Killer too.
Yep.
You know, the game deserved a sequel, but what makes me mad is that they're saying we're not going to make it a sequel, but yet we're going to unleash games like Forspoken, the game that launched way worse, and they're still putting out DLC content for it and talking about still trying. They shut the studio down, but they're still putting support for it.
Forspoken, that was the game. If I'm not mistaken, that was the game with the girl she went from like real world into like a fantasy world.
The wrist cuff.
So when they showed that trailer at whatever Sony was doing, during E3, I loved the concept. It was a dope looking fucking game. I was like, yes,
dude, it looked awesome.
But it failed at launch.
It just was so buggy. The dialogue choices were cringy. The missions were so just watered down and boring. The creatures that you fought were just grouped in the same way, and it was just half-assed. The only thing it said it really had for it was sometimes the environments and locations were cool, but even then you could see they were just half-assed textures. The game was just lackluster.
That kills. How much was that? That wasn't a $70 game, was it?
It was a $70 game.
See, that's the problem. You can't expect people to spend $70 on a game that's unfinished. Check this shit out. I saw about 2 weeks ago, I saw an ad for a 1990s ad for, I think, KB Toy Stores, right? And in that ad, they had the Nintendo 64 and the Sony PlayStation featured. Each system was like $165. The systems themselves were $165. That's chump change when it comes to fucking consoles today, right?
Now I miss KB Toys.
Serious, right? $65 each. Then they had the itinerary of games below. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, yep, oh man, I love that game. Oh, I had mad fun with that game. I'm like, what the fuck, Turok? I look at Turok and 64. What the fuck, Turok? In the 90s, right?
Right.
$75. I said, what the fuck?
For a Turok?
It wasn't just Turok. Doom 64. $75. So what the fuck? There were like 4 or 5 N64 games that were $70 and above in the early 90s. Here's the deal with that, though. Those were cartridge-based games. Those games were finished. Whether they were buggy or not, those games were fucking finished. You could not put out a fucking an update for them. That was it. You bought it as you bought it. So they had to be polished. Turok's a great game. Doom 64 is still regarded as one of the best Doom games.
Right.
Think about it. They were $75. They were polished. They're putting out $75 turds on $600 systems. Shut up. You ain't getting my money. I'd rather go to the fucking movies.
Yeah. And the thing is with me, it's... I don't mind buying the games, but I feel like with this notion and this urgency to get product out there quick to make money, that's just where it's bad, because it's like you're wanting look, why would you let's put it this way. If Days Gone, and I'm not saying Days Gone's the problem of this, but let's just use Days Gone as an example. If you put out Days Gone polished with no bugs, and that game did successfully well, you would have had a franchise at that point that would have gained you more cash. If Forspoken launched, Forspoken wasn't just buggy, was just terribly made. Okay, so let's say Callisto Protocol. The Dead Space contender that came out in December. If that game did not launch buggy and broken like it did, that's potentially a a franchise starter too. Josh Duhamel, he's a well-known actor.
Wait.
So known.
Callisto Protocol was a Sony exclusive? I thought that was all
No, but it's a canceled project that will not be getting a sequel. That's Glenn Schofield's latest game, and he helped make Dead Space, or he helped write Dead Space.
Okay.
So that's another thing is where if these games, even though Glenn Schofield blames it on some guy fucking around with the coding, if you guys would have paid attention and just spent more time and money in making sure that these games launched not broken and polished, you guys would have had potentially more money and more franchise opportunities to make more money. And now you're pushing out these games just to shit them out and in hopes that they're going to launch your next franchise, but they're buggy and broken. Like we have like the next game coming out, we have The Immortals of Avium or something like that. And it's like a first-person shooter, but with magic. You look like Doctor Strange going to war. Like,
but that isn't that
game has what's that?
Isn't that game like a Fortnite and like all that art?
No, it's a story narrative game, but it's a first-person shooter. But you use magic.
Wait, what's this coming out for? What's this coming out for? What's this coming out for? What system?
It comes out. It's for Xbox and PlayStation.
Because here's my thing. You know what that reminds me of? I'm going back old school with you. When Doom came out, right? It was Wolfenstein, then Doom, and Doom.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Hexen. Hexen did that. It did a almost magical first-person dungeon crawler game. So I'm down for that if it's polished.
Well, check it out. It's called Immortals of Avium or something like that. The problem is this game was supposed to come out. Gosh, this game has been in development for a while, and so hopefully it is polished. But I remember them talking about how like this game was going to be named something different and got pushed back, and they changed the name. So I don't know what it's going to do for it. But the point is I feel like with these companies, and I know where I'm going with this. The companies that are just pushing out games to make bucks and they're broken and stuff like Redfall. If Redfall wasn't broken, what's the chance? Maybe it would have done well. Games like that, just games in general. If you put games out, make sure they're ready to go.
Cyberpunk.
You would have started franchises and money and get stuff like that.
Cyberpunk 2079 or whatever it is.
Perfect example. Cyberpunk. Yes.
And it's apparently now it's a fucking fun game to play. I don't know. I would never play it. It's not my type.
Yeah, what? 2 years later now?
After what? 12 years of development or the first trailer?
Yeah, that's not worth it.
So my daughter wasn't. My daughter was like 6 when they showed that game for the first time. Oh my god! It drives me crazy.
And then they're talking about the next Witcher game coming out. And the thing is I'm playing The Witcher 3 right now because they had that PS5 update, and they added some new quests and some new things, which is cool. But like, I'm just thinking like, why are you going back to The Witcher 3 just to add Netflix stuff to it? And it's because they're just trying to make some extra money, I guess, off of the Cyberpunk loss and to help fund the next Witcher project. But the thing is the worry is the next Witcher game going to launch just as broken? Because The Witcher 3 is not a perfect game by any means. I'm still getting bugs in that game. The other day I spawned in and Geralt wasn't wearing a shirt. And so just glitches are not gone from that game.
So what
was the last game I played?
That was
all right, what are you saying?
Witcher and Cyberpunk. That's CD Projekt Red.
CD Projekt Red, yeah.
Okay. So,
and then now there's this talk of Sony trying to acquire CD Projekt Red, but then that's all been debunked and stuff.
So let me ask you this then. That's a perfect time to get into this. Is it because of the acquisitions of all of these major fucking companies and these studios, right? These gaming studios, that was the downfall of E3? Or was E3 just dying because because of Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft saying we're going to do all things?
It was because Sony and Microsoft became bigger than E3. You know, they just became they're the titans of console gaming right now, and you know, like where Nintendo used to be and Sega. You know, when it was Nintendo, Sega, and Atari, now it's just Microsoft and Sony, and you know, and Nintendo's still good, and they're not as, you know, not as competitive and aggressive and buying up shop like Microsoft and Sony is. You know,
yeah.
But, that's what happened. Is, you know, because like at that point, it was like Sony was like, we have God of War and The Last of Us to show. Why do we need to be at this event? Because all E3 was the community coming together to show off what they're getting, what they're having, and everybody pulled together for the space. And now, you know, Sony was like, well, we're going to pull out so we don't have to give X, Y, and Z money for our space at this convention. And we can just have our own spot.
It's funny you say that because I remember when E3 was basically like CES for the gaming industry. You had to be invited to go. You can't just show up. This ain't Comic-Con.
Yeah, well, that's the thing E3 would have to buy the companies after a while. So like they'd be like, hey, Sony, we're going to we want to have you at our event. We'll pay you this much money to be at our event. But hey, if this company, what happened was here was the example. The YouTuber I watch named Luke Stevens, a very big video game journalist, and just he does everything from Xbox, Nintendo, Microsoft, PC gaming, mobile gaming, a whole bunch of stuff. He was explaining it as like one of the reasons why E3 stopped was because after Microsoft and Sony pulled out, they would have to still pay for those empty spaces for the events. So like the Microsoft event, the PlayStation event would have a space open. So they would be like, hey, Nintendo, look, Sony and Microsoft dipped from our event. Can you give us more money so we can have it, so we can perform our event for you to be there? And that's what happened is like Nintendo would be like, well, no, why would we do that? Why would we give you more money just to show our stuff and for the spaces and help pay with the taxes? You know, this is just not, you know, it's just not logical. And that's basically what happened is just, you know, and it just snowballs. You know, one place leaves, then another place leaves, and then the rest go.
Yeah, no, well, that's crazy. What I was trying to say was like the average Joe like us, we couldn't get into E3 back in the day. We weren't. You had to be invited.
Now you can.
Now you can. Yeah. Towards the end, you could and not even towards the end. That floodgate opened way before. But I remember when E3 was
that was also because E3 was trying to make up more money because of the people leaving.
But it was even before the people left, because I remember when the first exposure to E3 I got again was with G4, right? It was before YouTube. Dude, I didn't start watching YouTube and everything on it until I moved out here. So that's like 10 years of the YouTube stuff. But before that, like, I remember when, like, G4 was there, it wasn't a public thing. It was more like I said, the CES, the Consumer Electronics, what the hell was that last word? CES. What the fuck was the last word? Whatever it was, but it was like, oh, duh. The Consumer Electronics Show, CES. It only happens here in Vegas every freaking year. I digress. It was like that. It was like invite only, right? That's what CinCon does. CinemaCon does that. I can't go to CinemaCon. It's here. It's right down the block from me. I can't just walk in there. I need to be invited. I need a special badge. I got to jump through hoops to get in there. I remember when E3 was like that. But you're right. You nailed it 100%. Once these companies started to realize we don't need to pay this exorbitant amount to work for them when we got the money to rent this little ass barn. I'm using Sony as an example. To showcase our games. And they don't even charge the people to get in. It's like, here, it's FanFest. Here you go. They keep most of their money because they know they're going to get it on the back end. They're going to showcase these games and we're going to buy them. And we're going to buy them. We'll get it on the back end.
And then on whatever they sell, commissions with concessions, stuff like that.
Absolutely. That's the movie theater guy in you talking. See, I wouldn't even have thought of that. That's the movie theater guy in you right there. Wow, what an upsell, there it is. Look at the upsell. But all right, before we get out of here, let me ask you to finish off this whole topic. What do you want to see and what do you expect to see?
So I personally would like to see Ghost of Tsushima 2 just because I love Ghost of Tsushima, and that's just because I'm ready for that sequel. But however, as much as I would love this, I just need to know something is concrete coming with God of War. I don't need to see it yet. I don't care if they tell me in the next 5 years something with God of War is coming. That's fine. I don't need to see it. But I would like to at least know something's coming because I don't like that cliffhanger they left it at. Even though I'm satisfied with the game, but it left off with so many other loose ends. But what I would really like to see are some, either if they're going to be returning IPs, I want to see Turok.
Good call.
Other than that, I would love to see some new style of, maybe not style, but new ideas. New type of games. I think Dungeons and Dragons has become so popular. I would really like to see this start of action-adventure medieval style games that aren't in the realm of Skyrim or, stuff like that. There's this game coming to Steam called Blight Survival, and you play as a knight fighting these zombies in this plague-type era, and it looks like an action-adventure game, and I think that looks so cool. And I would like to see that. And I would like to see games that are not going to follow an MMO style or a Souls type style.
Right.
I want to see narrative games. I want to see narrative stories. That's what I like to play. I like to play story-based games. I would like to see stuff new. I know for a fact we have a lot of dinosaur games coming. Like we have Instinction, which is coming out next 2025. It's coming out in 2025. It's going to be a single-player narrative survival horror dinosaur game where you have to you're on this island and there's dinosaurs and you have to uncover why this island has gone extinct necessarily. And you have to survive it and get help, and it's called Instinction, and I'm excited for that. I'm not excited for the Ark stuff because I didn't like Ark, but I know we have a few dinosaur stuff coming up. I just would like to see some new things, I just want to see something that's going to make me worse. That's one of the things that I loved was when I was younger, watching these game shows and being like, oh, I have an Xbox. Oh, that game looks really cool. Now I'm going to try and see what it's like so I can justify having my Xbox, So that's how I want to feel with my PlayStation 5 is I have nothing on my PlayStation 5 to play but remakes, pretty much. And I think that is just piss poor. I mean, we got Crysis 4 coming out later, which we're probably going to see stuff for soon. But I want to see just some new stuff, and or franchises that have perished and might have a return, like Resistance or
Infamous. Give me another Infamous. Killzone.
Yeah, another Infamous or a new Prototype or The Order 1886. Them doing a risk on that and giving it its sequel. I think there's a lot of room for ideas, if you just sit down and think about them. But, as what it's been for the past 10 years, I think we need a little bit of a break. A little bit of a break. So
I think that's why they changed.
No MMOs and no Souls-based type games.
You said we needed a little break. I think that's why they changed the name. That's why E3 got out of the game, and it's going to be something different because you're not going to, E3 might, you say, like for me personally, you say E3, I'm there. I don't care. I might not buy any of the fucking games they showcase, but I'm going to watch E3. But I can see how people are tired of it. So maybe we needed a game change, a name change, I don't think E3 went anywhere. I just think they rebranded. Because that's exactly what we're getting this weekend. It's the same fucking thing.
Much.
Think about it. It's the same concept. We're going to see games. We're going to talk about games. There's going to be games. Capcom's doing a showcase. Because Capcom ain't owned by nobody. But where's Ubisoft? All right, under Microsoft. Stupid shit like that. Where's Bethesda? All right, under Microsoft. Where's Activision? Oh, yeah, Microsoft. And Sony, you have the power. You know what's going to happen? Nintendo's going to come out swinging. Nintendo's going to come out swinging and say, yo, remember when we ran the world?
Competition, that's the thing, so they can.
Yeah, they were like, hey, remember when we ran everything?
And that's what I like, because there's not gonna be any turmoil between it. Nintendo's just gonna come out, hype up all their stuff just because we're just excited for what we have, and that's what I give props to about Nintendo is they don't have to worry about, people are gonna buy those games regardless because they're not on PlayStation or Xbox,
It's gonna be this.
And it's not gonna be this cash cow grabby thing.
It's gonna be just like this. Hey, y'all like that Super Mario Brothers movie, right? Yeah. Y'all helped us get to the first $1 billion movie of 2023, right? Yeah. But we gonna give you Super Mario Brothers the movie, the game, and nobody else can do it. Not Sony, not Microsoft. Oh, they can stream the movie on their fucking systems. Think about it.
We're gonna make a Mario Kart version.
Think about it. We can watch a Nintendo movie on the Xbox, on a PlayStation, but you can't play the Nintendo game on them unless it's emulated, and I get that, but not everybody does that. I will say this. What I'm looking forward to, I have no idea. Zero.
And that's a good answer, too, because honestly, I don't know what to expect. I'm just kind of shocked that I honestly feel like with this event, it's good, but Sony should not have had their event when they did because I think it shot them in the foot.
Well,
and if there's nothing good shown for Sony at the Summer Game Fest, it's going to be bad for them for a while.
Well, being that Sony already did what they did, it's probably going to be a bunch of rehashes, and then they're going to probably... Because here's the deal. Like, Sony did their thing, and then, like, you saw Mortal Kombat 1, a couple weeks later.
Yeah. And it has been said we will be seeing Mortal Kombat stuff during the Game Fest this week.
Absolutely, and I can see Xbox just taking advantage of that and saying, okay, let's showcase this, because they didn't. And again, that's going to be multi-platform.
An interesting point, too, because a portion of those games are slated to be shown at the Xbox event as well, so it makes me wonder, like... How do you can't show them twice for each company, and most of those games, it's not like those were exclusives, so that's going to be interesting how they go through that. So who knows? We might be in line to see some really cool stuff, or it might just be a waste of time, but hopefully it's not.
Well, I will say this. At the end of it all, I will be watching either the NBA Finals or the NHL Finals, being I'm from Vegas and the Golden Knights kicking ass. That'll do it for this episode of the podcast. I want to thank Brother Chase for being on here with me for 2 hours. Thank you, my friend. I love you.
Oh, hey, right on. No worries at all. Love you too, man. It was a pleasure.
And yes, maybe we didn't get into any Godzilla news, but that's not to say we won't see any Godzilla games this weekend. One can only hope. One can only hope. But that'll do it for this.
Bandai Namco stuff gonna show, so maybe.
Let's do it. But that'll do it for this episode of the G Show podcast. I am G1, and we out of here. Peace.